Welcome to part 3 of this deadlift troubleshoot series. So to recap, part 1, we looked at dumbbell deadlifts. Part 2, we looked at barbell deadlifts. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit more about the nuance of troubleshooting if you feel your low back, what it means, when it's a problem, when it's not, and some other things that we often overlook that can impact how well we're able to perform a lift and where we feel it. So one of the things that is most overlooked, I find, when working with people is their footwear. I am not a purist, so I'm not telling you that like there is a universally good or bad shoe, or if you should or even shouldn't wear shoes when you are lifting. When I am lifting in my home gym, which is where I am right now, I am often barefoot because I can be. If you work in a or if you work out in a Globo or commercial gym, or you don't have a great floor, you might find that you need to wear shoes. That is fine. However, something to keep in mind here is I really, really would not recommend lifting weights in a running shoe. And this is an example. It's kind of got a rocker. It's kind of got a little bit of a heel drop. And you can see it's kind of like, right? It's got like a swoosh for, in terms of like how it is held. Now, these shoes I like for running, I like for walking. They're great. But again, I don't like to lift in these. And the reason why is because I can't get my whole foot flat on the ground and they have kind of a squishy sole. And so if the sole is squishy and if I cannot get my foot flat on the ground, when I go to do a deadlift or a squat, really any kind of like lower body loading, but even in standing, I can't get that good contact in my foot to get good ground force reaction. And my foot and ankle are kind of like moving around in the shoe. And so for a lot of people, that may cause foot pain, that may cause ankle pain, that may cause low back pain, all sorts of things. Even if their technique is really good, even if the programming they're doing is right for them, even if the weight selection is good, even if the exercises are right for them, if your foot can't figure out where the ground is and you're in a wobbly or a squishy shoe, that is often going to be one of the things that causes some pain. Again, now, is it dangerous? I wouldn't go that far, but I would say if you're struggling or you're feeling things in weird places, take a look at your shoes. Because again, if you have a squishy shoe or a rocker shoe, that could be one of the issues. Now, if you're going like, all right, cool, Nikki, but like what shoes should I wear? Couple examples. You're really looking for something that's called a training shoe. By the way, these are the same brand. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. It's NaabLevy. Notice this is a flat sole. It's quite stiff. So NaabLevy has a training shoe, but a lot of brands do. Even running shoe companies now like Mizuno have training shoes. Some of us, including myself, a lot of the time even lift in Converse or Vans. Again, stiff sole, very flat. So something to keep in mind there is just your footwear. Another thing to keep in mind is the total amount of exercise you're doing in a week. So our brains tend to be looking for like, okay, why am I having this sensation of, for example, my legs and my lower back are really sore all the time? And for example, I'm really always sore in my quads and my low back. What is going on? You don't want to just look at one exercise. You actually want to look at the cumulative work or total amount of exercise that you are doing during a week. So if you are also, for example, a runner or a cyclist, or you take spin classes or you take group fitness classes, sometimes it's not just the deadlift that is causing that kind of excessive creaky soreness and weirdness in your quads and your low back and all these areas. And it's also not that your glutes aren't working. It's just that you might be under recovered for the amount of exercise that you're doing. This can happen because we're doing just a lot of exercise in a week without a lot of recovery or downtime or rest time. It also is relative to the person. So sometimes if we increase whatever we're doing too fast, too soon for our personal body and tissues and nervous system, we may also find we have some extra pain. Perfect personal example. So you don't know, I am hypermobile. I have a chronic illness. I don't recover very well now that I'm 40. I especially don't seem to recover very well. It's annoying, but it is what it is. And so like in the past year, I have taken up cycling and I immediately did this very silly thing where I was like, I'm going to do 3 cycle classes a week on top of lifting. And I cannot tell you how trashed my quads were and how sore my low back was. So I futzed around. I went down to 1 cycling class per week in lifting, and then I got it up to 2. And that seems to be my sweet spot. If I do more than 2 cycle classes on top of lifting 3 times a week, my low back doesn't love it. My quads don't love it. Some other person could probably run or cycle for miles and miles and be absolutely fine. But for me, in my current iteration of life with my 40-year-old body and my hypermobile joints and my chronic illness and just having like a stressful lifestyle in general, that's what I have the capacity for. And that's okay. The final thing that I kind of want to lead into that too is that your sleep and your stress management, and I know no one wants to hear the word stress management. Stress management is obnoxious because we can't really fully control it. But if you're having a really stressful season of life, if your sleep is compromised, good example here is like perimenopause. We might struggle with recovery a little bit. Those things can impact how sore we are. And if we are already sensitive in certain areas, so like if you already have a little bit of a tricky low back, you might just find that those areas are more sensitive faster. So what I want to point out here is that like this is a nuanced conversation. So it might be that you do need to change something about your deadlift technique. And again, I talked about technique in the other 2 videos. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. You can also message me directly if you want to have kind of a deeper conversation around this. So technique can be part of it, but you also want to look at the program design, like how much hinging do you have in a week? Again, relative to what your body is able to do. So looking at the whole program design, how quickly are you ramping up in weight? How many sets and reps are there? What is happening in your life outside of the gym? What is happening in your workouts outside of the deadlift? Were you traveling recently? Were you sitting for long periods of time? All of these things can impact where and how we feel muscle groups. And so a lot of the time there is kind of, you have to be a little bit of like a detective with your personal history to figure out what might be going on. Because usually sometimes it's technique. And a lot of the time it's not just one thing, it's many things. The final thing I wanted to say here, because I have seen this pop up for clients before, is sometimes what happens, right? The theme here is like always things get cranky when we do too much, too fast, too soon. But let's say they're following a 3-time-a-week program and workout number 3, this is how I program things, for example, in my templated group program, Total Package Strength. Day 3 is always kind of the deadlift overhead press day along with other exercises. And so like, for example, and that's a very common structure in strength training, by the way. So you wouldn't have to follow my program to see that. I know many programs that follow this. But my point here is like, I have worked with clients who are following a 3-time-a-week program, but they kind of keep missing day 3. So they keep missing the deadlift day. And then they go back and they do the deadlift after having missed it for say 5 or 6 weeks. And then the deadlift does not feel good on their lower back. So I just keep that in mind, is if you are following a program, if you're going to miss workouts, it's totally fine. I miss workouts too. I'm actually missing a workout today, probably to finish recording this. But just notice if you're always kind of missing the one workout. And if that's happening, sort of mix up, like sort of pick and choose. So if you're like, okay, last week I did days 1 and 2. So this week I'm going to do day 3 and day 1. And I'll miss day 2 instead. And what that's going to allow you to do again is to like continue to sort of like distribute the load in terms of the work. And so when you go back to something like a heavy deadlift, it's not such a shock to your system. And if you have, let's say, missed a deadlift for several weeks, that's okay. But you might want to start with a much lighter weight and then slowly ease your way back in. And that might help with that. So that is a lot, I realize. It's still probably not fully comprehensive. Funny how that works. But I hope that gives you some insight and some ideas to troubleshoot if you're having issues with the deadlift. Like I said, you are welcome to leave a comment or reach out to me. Happy to have a chat to see if I can help you with this. But overall, I hope you found this series helpful and that it gave you some insight. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.